Hey guys, it's Rick and Marcy. Marcy Locke is coming to us from California, and a lot of you have heard me talk about Marcy a lot. For those of you that don't know me, not only was I Taylor Swift's former manager, but when I left Taylor in 2008, I weighed about 300 pounds. I was bleeding on the inside. I didn't understand why. In 2000, 2008, and 2010, I decided that I was going to go on this crazy diet and give my wife a boyfriend for her 10-year anniversary. So I wanted to be 100 pounds lighter than I was. On my wedding day when I got married, I was 289. Needless to say, I was doing P90X, an 800 calorie a day diet, taking B12 shots in the butt once a week from a doctor, got down to 193. I looked great, but on the inside, I was very, very sick, and I could not maintain it. I've struggled with my weight off and on. I will get in just like this time of the year. It's like every year I would start my new thing, and I would, pack the house with all this good stuff and tell everybody what I was going to do, and they all kind of knew it was going to last for about a week or two. Sometimes it would even go for about a month, and then I would go on this, get this idea. I'm not happy, and I would see something else on TV, and I would order it. So I'm going, shit, I couldn't do the P90, but hell, this one's only 25 minutes. I'll try that one. But what I never did was I never understood nutrition. I never understood a lot of different things. So this past summer, I had the pleasure of meeting Marcy at an event that we were doing, and I was attracted to the way she was eating. Here was this chick that just was shredded, but she was eating piles. There you go. Yeah, welcome to the gun show. She's eating piles of this food. I'm like, man, I would be so sick. And she says, yeah, but my body needs this much food because it's a fat burning machine. And that was the first time that I had heard that term. So I just kind of tagged around and followed Marcy and tried to eat like Marcy. And then after we were done, she shared with me while we were there, she had this app that was pretty cool. So I was going out every night to have a cigar. That's kind of what I do. So I'm having this cigar on Hollywood Boulevard with my headphones on, listening to Marcy on this app. And I started hearing a person. I wasn't hearing Jillian. I wasn't hearing Tony. I wasn't hearing all these other people. I was hearing this woman who had gone through these struggles, and someone who also is celebrating recovery of a drug addiction, 22 years sober. I started connecting that there was more to this than Marcy just being ripped. There was just more to this than Marcy not eating brownies. Because I asked her when we were walking to dinner, when I said, you ever miss like having a brownie? I realized there was more to her. And what I wanted to do before the year end, and she's getting ready to go out on this great adventure that she'll tell you about in a little bit, is I wanted to just have a candid conversation with Marcy. One, to just find out what she saw in me that I didn't see in myself, and then why she invited me to participate in one of her challenge programs. And these aren't cheap, and there's a lot of responsibility that's involved, and for whatever reason, she saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, because she called me up later and she said, listen, there's this thing that I'm doing. I think it would be good for you. I listened to a little bit of your story, and I gave it a shot. And for those of you that have watched my teaching videos, hell, you could just see the shrinking in my teaching videos, but it was just amazing, the transformation that I've experienced. But I think there's more to it, because I understand the mind part now that I think could really help anyone in that creative space. So that's kind of a real long introduction. I think you know where I'm wanting to extract this information from you. But what is it that, when did this shift for you? Because you weren't always this. For those that don't know you or know your story, tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, well, obviously, so the interesting thing is your experience with me, like most people, is they see me on TV as a nutrition fitness expert. I'm nutrition fitness mindset expert, but most people are just like, oh, she's ripped and shredded. So I want that. So and it's a gift and a blessing. I now see it as, it used to piss me off, because it was like, everything that I do is about is about digging to the core and aligning to the true self, so that allows you to create this as your experience. Because when you're in tune with who you are and the worth of who you are, of course you're going to live in the body of health. Of course you're going to live in financial abundance. Of course you're going to have epic relationships, because you know your worth. So your body, how your body's showing up externally, is just a reflection of your self-internal worth. But I now see it as this greatest gift and blessing that someone like you, even for the beginning, was like, wait, you're ripped and shredded. What are you eating? Because you knew your experience had been for years doing the body game, fighting the body. So, and you mentioned the comment before, which was, you know, when people talk about what is the greatest thing you can do to lose weight, it's all the fat people that chime in, because they've tried everything, and you were that guy that was always like, oh, this and this and this and this, and I've tried everything, but yet you didn't have the results. And I knew it was because, even in your words and in our first conversations, it was the belief systems around it. It was the belief systems, even when we take it down to the easiness of the belief system around eating healthy is hard, it doesn't taste good, working out is long, or it's you know, it doesn't work for me, or all these belief systems. Even on the behavioral side, it keeps you, there's this disalignment from what we say we want on the surface and what's really going on subconsciously. We don't believe we deserve it. So, Rick, my journey started fighting the body, like you, fighting the body. From the time I was little, really was at 4 years old, that I remember I have this memory of seeing my mom always stressed about her body and dieting and whatnot. And I remember her making a comment. I have this little memory inside of her making this comment about how, oh, she just worked so hard to lose the 5 pounds and just to gain it back again. And as a 4-year-old who just saw my mom as the perfect being that she was and loved her and wanted her to be happy, it's like I wanted to make my mom happy. All I could do was the comment I made to her was, well, maybe God gave it back to you because you needed it. Like, I was so cute, you know, right? But it's like, I didn't understand what the body was. I didn't understand what weight was or what she was upset about. But that's where it started. And my next memory was her wanting to go out walking. And, you know, back then it was the whole, this sexy thing to go out and, you know, just walk. And she was going to go out, and I was like, yeah, and I go out with her, and I reach up to hold her hand, and she says, oh, no, I can't hold your hand because I have to do this to burn calories. It was not traumatic. It was not my mom not loving me. It was not her trying to hurt me in any way. But in my little 4-year-old mind, what happened was an experience gave me a decision, which was I created a belief about how life was, how people were, how it was supposed to look, which then created my journey. And so my thought in that moment was, oh, the body is so important. Here's built up evidence that the body means so much more, that it has to look a certain way. The body's so important. I have to look that way to be loved and validated and good enough. So that started for me the journey of perfectionist identity, that I have to show up perfectly to be loved, and the body has to look a certain way and all these things. So what's interesting is I struggled my whole life with my body, from anorexia to bulimia to, you know, every single workout video, to every single pill, product, program, you name it, and yet I never got the body. So if you look, it's like I was that skinny fat that you talk about, and all those things where it's like I never was healthy. I was always anorexic, or, you know, doing something to try to fight my body because I was so desperate to be loved. I was so desperate to feel good. And it was through, I mean, I share in my story in some of my, you know, we could go super in depth here, but it's one day that literally something came up for me where I looked at her and I said, oh my gosh, everyone is doing the same thing. This is the definition of insanity. We're all going to the gym, we're all dieting, we're all eating like rabbits, and yet no one around seems to ever consistently stay in the body and have peace. It's like the holidays screw you up, and then family comes into town, or this or that, or blah, 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 and it's always the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And it just one day clicked for me where I was like, oh my gosh, this is the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And I just was fed up with fat, and fed up with feeling frustrated, and fed up with not loving myself. And I was like, screw this. I either got to stop right now and stop bitching about how I look and love myself feeling fat and frustrated, or I've got to commit to actually doing something about it and creating a solution. And it was like the moment that happened, and I asked myself the right question, because I said, well, look, I've tried everything, right? Like, I've tried everything. So like you were like, you know, all the fat people always tried everything. Tried everything. So I said, what else can I try? And something literally whispered in my ear, you haven't tried education and the mind. And I was like, oh. First off, I was like, I don't really know what that means. Secondly, I was like, it's true. I have never said, how does my body work? How does it work with food? How does it work with exercise? What, you know, what am I thinking? Like, all I've ever said is, what's the next diet? What's the next pill? What's the next program? So that's really where my journey started, and why the beginning of my path was understanding the body. I committed to just understanding how the body worked. And once I realized how the body worked, I saw like God literally gave us this amazing machine that is already naturally your fat burning partner, your ultimate, your ultimate fat burning partner, your best friend. You know this now. Yeah. And that all we've been doing is fighting it, and all it's trying to do is help us and support us and love us and be our best friend, and we're the ones who are sabotaging that. We're doing everything to work against it and allow us to work with it. And so I first started to study the body and was like, wow, if I could just give this freedom to other people to see like how easy it is to get ripped and shredded and healthy and live in this. But then what I recognized is then shit showed up for me that made me want to sabotage and wanted comfort and associations and parties to holidays to you name it. And that started me down the process of understanding it was so much deeper than just the external body, and that I couldn't keep the external body or live in the behaviors of health until I went internal and got clear with the belief systems that said I deserved to live in health. I deserved worth, abundance. And so that's really where it started for me. And hence, when you listen to my app and you listen to my TV shows and my radio shows and the mindset stuff that I do, that's when you're like, holy shit, this is not just about the body.
Well, and that's what it was for me, because one of the first things that I teach when I work with artists is you have to change your mindset. I try to get them out of, I'm going to be discovered, or just because I'm pretty and I can sing, someone's going to sign me to a record deal, that there's a lot more to it, that there's this whole foundation that you can lay for yourself if you want to be successful. I always talk about, I don't believe being in the right place at the right time. I think you need to be the right person in the right place at the right time, or we would have 130 superstars from American Idol, which we don't. One of the things that was interesting as I got involved in your program, almost every other program that I'd ever gotten involved with always gave you cheat days, or you can reward yourself with a dessert, or all this other stuff. And I remember that coming up a lot on our weekly calls with the group. It's like, well, I decided to reward myself that day with this, or I decided to give myself a cheat day. You don't buy into that. You were like, great, now what do you have to do because you had a cheat day? I mean, the cutest thing was that little piece of paper you sent out on Halloween that said, great, want one of these? Do this much sit-up. Want one of these? Do this is what each one of these little pieces of candy equates to you eliminating it. You're not about gimmicks. You're not about rewarding yourself. Tell me more about how that thought process came about.
Well, that's because what you're really saying is, so when we are, what we're looking for, when we want to cheat or we want to reward ourselves, see, we're looking to give ourselves a feeling. We want the feeling of, man, I did so good today, I worked hard all day, or whatever it is, and I want fun, I want connection with my kids to go watch a movie, I want to go out to dinner and have connection with these other people, I want to have fun, reward, deserve, happy, balance, joy. Okay, so it's a feeling that we associate to food. The food does not give you the feeling. It's a false evidence that we think will give us the feeling, which never does. We end up feeling shitty and guilty and sluggish and tired and all these things, and so it's a false reality. It's not ever going to give you the solution that you want, and until you learn to go internal and find out, this is the feeling I'm wanting, this is why. Okay, so how do I give that to myself? How do I give myself a feeling that actually aligns to living in the life that I want? So if I want to live an awesome life where I feel balanced and whole and happy and energized, and literally the more connected I am to this tool, this body that I have, the more I'm aligned to source, that I'm inspired to create my business, to connect with my clients, to guide them, to just thrive. If I'm shut down and I'm like anxious and I'm craving things and I can't think straight and I need that diet soda or the sugar or whatever, and I'm just wanting something outside of myself, I literally am operating out of less than 10% of my capacity. So so we get to get clear with, and the thing you said is, in no way am I ever like, now you have to do this. It's like, awesome, what was the feedback for you of when you decided to sabotage, when you decided that? What was really showing up for you? What was the emotions and the internal, what were the thoughts and what were you really looking for? And so it's feedback to go, that was the greatest gift for you. Now how do we move forward that you can create bypassing that so that that doesn't continue to show up? Because the greatest thing, Rick, you know this, is that you get past, you never have cravings again.
Right.
Like there's that behavioral side where we teach you how to get your body into a space where you don't crave anymore. So then it's easy. But then what's going to show up is like what I experienced too, whereas like all of a sudden shit shows up and you're like, you want it because you're triggered. You want it because you hit pain buttons, patterns, associations that say, I need comfort right now, whether it be something goes sour in your business or somebody says something that triggers perfectionist identity, you're being judged or whatever it is, and you go, and you want to feel comfort. So our patterns and our conditioning says, instead of looking at what's really going on and giving myself freedom by looking at the war I started inside and walking through it and giving myself freedom, we go outside of ourselves to I'm either going to turn on the TV to distract, or I'm going to, get attention from someone to distract, or I'm going to reach out for food to distract, sex, porn, drugs, you name it. Anything outside of ourselves is a distraction from what's really going on inside. So it really comes down to the reason I don't believe in cheat days or sabotage is it's not a long-term solution.
Right.
First off, we can get into the body behavioral side. It's bullshit game that you're playing, tricking your body. So it's like the only reason there's educational science behind that is because there's the chemical in your brain, leptin, which can, if you're eating clean and healthy, it can go, oh, okay, I'm in survival mode, or it thinks there's not going to be enough fat to survive, and so it's slowing down your metabolism or plateauing. That it's like they say, oh, well, if you cheat and then you eat a bunch of shit, it goes, oh no, I'm fine, famine's not there, it's all good, and keeps the metabolism high. That's not necessarily the only way to work with it, and what that does is all of a sudden you're overwhelmed with sugar in your system, so you work hard all week long, or you focus on, I don't believe in hard, that, but you work towards it all week long, and then you give yourself a cheat day just to put a ton of shit, sugar and chemicals in your body. You feel like shit, but it takes you several days to feel normal again. You just gain back 3 pounds of the 5 pounds you shed just to go, okay, now let's get back into it, and then let's have another cheat day again. It's a bullshit fucking game. It's like a definition of insanity. To me, I'm just like, why would I ever choose hard when I can allow myself to be at peace and flow with my body and be easy? So I go into, most of the time I get this at a health food store, okay? I go into the health food store to get some supplements or something, and they're always like, whoa, your arms have, the lines and the depth, oh, are you in a show? Are you in a competition? Are you a bodybuilder? And I'm like, no, I live this way. But most of the time we think that people only look like this if they're tricking their body and they're in a show, because they do these cycles where mess with your body, drain all the water, no carbs, blah, 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 just to look this way. And then guess what? Those people can't maintain it. That's why they have their on-season weight and their off-season weight.
Right.
I don't believe in it, because I believe it all comes from internally being aligned with my body as a gift, my tool, my source. And every time shit shows up, it's an emotional thing. And once you learn to work through first the behavioral stuff,
right,
so you don't have cravings, and then the triggers and associations, literally, you're clear to just live in peace with your body and food every day. And that's why you saw me at the event. Every time they had food, I ate 2 to 3 plates. And you were like, how does this woman eat so much food? And I'm like, and I know it's not about starving myself. It's not about fighting my body or fighting food. It was about, I know how to feed my body to be a fat burning machine, how to live in peace with it. And I have when you said, when's the last time you had a brownie? Do you remember my response?
I don't know. I don't crave brownies. I don't eat it.
I said, you would have to hold a gun to my head to make me.
That's right. I remember on Hollywood Boulevard you said that.
I was like, I have no desire, because I've broken through all the internal associations and things that connect to that. In the past, that was my thing. Brownies were my thing. I think you probably know, listening to in the audios where I was like, brownies were my thing, where I was like, ooh, brownies. Now I'd be like, oh, shoot me. I have no desire. But that's when it gets easy, is you no longer desire the things that don't serve you, because you've gone internal to go, how do I give myself that? So going back to the first space where you asked me, which is if I ultimately want a rockin' life and I want to be aligned to that rockin' life, when I want a feeling, I get to give myself an option to give myself that feeling that also aligns to living in the life results that I want. If I go for shit food, that's obviously not going to give me the results I want, which is living in tune with my body, having energy, thriving, being inspired to create, being a tool in God's hands, all these things, just because, oh, well, I want a feeling, and I associate that food's going to give me the feeling, which it never does. That's why. I don't play that bullshit game.
It's crazy because, I grew up, well, I didn't grow up. I was a morning disc jockey for a long time, and coffee. was my thing. And one of the things that I discovered early on is I would say things like, there's no way that I can go without coffee. You know, there's certain people say, there's no way I could go without cheese, you know, or whatever that favorite thing that you have. And during the first 3 days of the program, we did the detox, which isn't the typical detox. It's like, there was none of this cayenne pepper and water kind of crap. It was like, take protein shakes during the day and have a nice chicken and vegetables meal at night, but eliminate the coffee and the certain different things. So my danger was always the late night cravings. I felt like I would always say, I eat great all day, Jill cooks healthy, my kids eat healthy, then they go to bed, and then all of a sudden the cravings come. So what happened is during the first few days, the first 3 days on the detox, I eliminated the coffee. I thought that I needed it. What I found out, it wasn't the coffee that I was craving. It's like I would have every day, as soon as I got up in the morning, I would have a cup of coffee with Italian sweet cream, about 2 tablespoons, probably more now that I know because I didn't measure anything before I started working out with you. I would just pour the creamer in, stir it up. So I was starting my day with processed sugar. So then a couple hours later, I'd be at the office. As soon as I get there, I'd have another one. Maybe I was hungry or not hungry. Maybe I wouldn't eat till I got to work, which means I'd been up for 3 hours. And then I would work, I'd have that cup of coffee, and then I would forget, holy crap, it's lunchtime and I haven't eaten yet. So I'd go have lunch. After lunch, I'd come back, have another cup of coffee, and then I was done with my coffee for the day. But what I didn't realize until getting involved with you and working with your nutritionist, Rachel and April, is that I was starting my day with processed sugar, and I was chasing that craving for the rest of the day. Because what I noticed, first 3 days of the detox, is that I wasn't hungry, I wasn't craving at night, I had no desire to go scour the cupboards to see if there just happened to be a York peppermint patty lying around someplace that could fill this. That sustained not having that. I realized I was allergic to processed sugar. So if I was having any of those processed pretzels, which I thought were good for me because they were pretzels, or I was having a handful of trail mix because I thought it was good for me, not realizing that, you know, my body will only process a thumb's worth of healthy fats and almonds, and I'm eating a whole handful like a lot of people are led to believe is good for you. I also realized that I need to fuel my body in the morning within 30 minutes of waking up to start my day the right way. It's like I would say, well, I'm going to go to the gym first and I'll eat afterwards. And then I remember Rachel and April going, dude, you've got to put something in before. And so for me, this program was all about going, okay, you're eating healthy vegetables, chicken, proteins, but you're eating it at the wrong time. Or I would say, oh, I had crap today, so for dinner I'll just have a pile of meat, you know, not realizing that every meal must have a carb and a healthy fat. And I'm sitting there going, holy crap, I have been doing this to myself by taking bits and pieces of knowledge and information, but it's like having the pages to a book, ripping them out, shuffling them like a deck of cards. All the information in that book is right. It was just all out of order. And you put it in order for me, and that's
making it simple.
It changed everything.
Yeah, and I think so many people, because they're so bombarded with so many things out there. I mean, there's like, last time I even remember looking up this stat, it was like 30,000 plus diets to the FDA. Now I swear it's well over 100,000. But it's like there's so much out there that we're bombarded. And the thing that I want people to realize is that we have loads of information on nutrition, loads of information on fitness, loads of you know, fitness programs out there and nutrition programs out there. If the answer was what you eat and exercise, though, so this is one aspect of it. Yes, that there's so much unclarity. We're just bombarded by it. It's like we're taking all this and like we're not clear. But if this was the answer, we'd all have the results.
Right.
Obviously something missing. So yes, that's why it's like, the first part, that's really the bonus, you know this, of my program, is that you learn to live in tune with your tool, of how easy it is to be in your body of health, what resonates for you, that you can, like, I've been living in 8-pack abs for 10 plus years and it's effortless. And that to me would have been crazy in the past of not understanding where it was a struggle and it was a battle. So there is part of that that's the behavioral. We get to learn how, oh, yep, okay, let's get you the right knowledge to learn how to put these behaviors into play to work with your body and make it easy. But if you're not going internal as to what the belief systems are, the thought processes, all these things that are the mindset, which you're saying is like the biggest turnaround, like the body becomes the bonus because the mindset, what's going on inside you, has to be aligned to allowing yourself to live in the actions and the behaviors. And so I always say, like, losing weight is really, really easy. And you saw that once you learned the how-to behaviorally and you backed it up with also the mindset to learn how to break through triggers, associations, and thought processes that would have stopped you in your tracks. You would have sabotaged before you ever got there if the belief was, well, you know, I have to work out this much and it has to look like this, or eating is this way, or, you know, all these things. Once losing weight really is easy. It's why aren't you? And it's the same thing, Rick, with relationships. Epic relationships can be easy. Why don't you have that? And same thing with finances and allowing your greatness to come through. All these things can be either a fight and a struggle and a battle and a settle and a sacrifice and lack and limitation. All these belief systems you're choosing, or it can be easy and it can be effortless and it can be flow, and like being in tune with your tool just allows that to come through even more. So yeah, 100% agree that there's a massive disconnect of the knowledge that we have on how to take care of our bodies, but they never will last just by going, oh, okay, so if somebody reaches out to you and they're like, hey, Rick, give me the eating plan then that you learned. Tell me how to work with my body to be a fat burning machine. Tell me what to do for my working out. Would you trust and believe that they're going to get results?
Not if they don't do the work or understand what it is that they need to do, because there's no shortage of diet books and workout programs in my house.
Yep.
No shortage whatsoever. One of the things, I did an event recently, and I was sharing with them, I called it the musician's mindset. I was originally going to go in and teach this whole social media training, but after going through the program, after running into you in Utah, I decided that I was going to go to the musician's mindset, and I started sharing with them. I started telling them a lot of different things, and I used my story, you know, and I used our getting to know each other, and I shared my journey with them. But I started talking to them as I said, you know, guys, I said, look, a lot of this stuff that I'm doing freaked me out. I said, let me talk to you about mirror exercises. And you remember my resistance there. So I'm in front of this group of musicians, and I'm like, I deserve this. I am a lean, fat-burning machine. I deserve this. I love myself. I love myself. I deserve this. And all of a sudden, they're starting to chiming in, and I said, guys, it started out as the weirdest thing, but then I started thinking to myself, you know what? If I don't love me, who else is going to love me? You know, it's like we expect all this validation from all these other people. You taught us to validate ourselves first. You said, first thing I want you to do in the morning is, and it was funny, you were like, before you go to bed, in your mind, create your day so that you wake up with already these positive things instead of getting up in the morning and trying to kind of do this stuff. You're big on that. Where did that come into play for you? When did you see that that could make such a crazy difference? Because no one else is teaching that in any of these programs that I've taken. It's like, all right, get up, everybody, you got your water, stretch it out, let's go for it. And you're like, no, 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 no. Before you touch a weight, before you do anything, you better love yourself and get your mind in the right place. Where did you find that?
Well, okay, so I mean, it was my journey, my path of going, why did the resistance show up with the body? Like, why did I have the journey where the body never showed up until I went internal? So all those years of fighting the body never lasted, and I never got to where I wanted to go until I started to dig into the internal of, like, what are my belief systems? What are my thoughts, my things? And through studying the mind at such a deep degree and studying emotions and studying attachments and just, like, honestly, like, people always ask me, because Rick, I mean, you're phenomenal. You've worked with so many amazing, phenomenal coaches and people, and a lot of times my high-end clients that I work with all around the world are, I mean, some of the most famous high-end coaches around the world, and yet they've coached with some of the most famous coaches. So they're always like, how do you know this? Like, where did you get trained? Who trained you? And it's always like, I'm like, God. Like, I can't give credit to anything other than God, because the combination of my own shit and my own journey, and your mess becomes your message, all that I was struggling with. And it's like, look, me getting, looking outside to study and understand the mind and how it works, and these things just kind of came through me that were like understanding, wow, like this is how you for my journey, put it together to give people this freedom. And those were the tools that I discovered and I was able to live that then gave me freedom. So of course then I wanted to share it. But one of those is that you're talking about is understanding that how your mind works. And this is why there's such a disconnect on someone can be doing something on the surface actions, whether it be in their business or relationships or anything, their body. And if internally they believe something different and there isn't that connection, it's like there's this total disalignment. You can't create the results no matter how many times you take a seminar or read a book or whatever and you try to put the action to play. You sabotage it and you attract or create the belief to be right what you believe inside. So internally we get to connect to at the core, which is what you're doing by retraining your mind, retraining your belief systems, planting a new tree, a new seed, basically a belief system, so that you could cultivate that and grow that with new patterns and habits. And then that became the fruit, the results that you had. The body showed up, the relationships got even better, the business ideas flowed, like things just show up when you're aligned to that. And so one of those understandings which you're talking about, which is creating your day, is realizing that your mind, what you create and what your mind looks for is what the visions and the pictures that you see and what you're telling it and what you believe, okay? So the bullshit game that I think a lot of coaches play, or a lot of surface knowledge is about, is like, oh, you have a negative thought, just change it. Just use an affirmation or a declaration. I think that's pure bullshit, because I mean, it doesn't, first off, you're not honoring yourself to say it's okay to feel this or see this or looking at it in any form if it's true, or being aware of where it came from. So it's a bullshit game where you just like bypass it. It's just like sabotaging with food. Oh, I feel uncomfortable, so I'm just going to reach out to food to make me feel better. Changing the thought and just going, oh, I don't want this, I am this, but not believing it actually completely reaffirms the limiting belief inside you, because there's this segment in your brain which creation happens based off the way you feel. So it judges how you feel. If you have 100 pounds to shed and you say, I'm a fat burn machine and I have six-pack abs, it's like, bullshit you are. That's not true. Remember all those times you failed and all those diets you've done and da-da-da-da. And it just reaffirms the limiting negative. So part of it is we get to learn how to connect to retraining our mind and our belief systems and our feelings and emotions that we create what we want. And it might be saying something like, I'm so grateful that I'm stronger every day. Can you believe that? But if you can't believe I'm six-pack abs, you can believe every day I'm stronger. So there's that part of feeling it. The second part that most people don't realize, and why it's so powerful at nighttime to get results so fast in shifting and changing your life, is connecting what's going on in your mind to your heart and your spirit and your inner beliefs. So whatever you end your day on, whatever you see or focus on, is literally what's soaking in your subconscious mind all night long. So somebody looks in the mirror and they go, oh, I'm so fat, or they're like, oh, I didn't do all these things today, and I didn't do this in my business, or they focus on worry, or I should be doing this tomorrow in my business, or whatever they're worried about. Literally, that's what you're asking for.
Right.
The powerful creator in you, whatever you choose to respond to life with, and whatever perceptions you have and thoughts and energy you're exuding out, and this is where all that mind stuff all comes together. It's kind of like nutrition and fitness. It's like, there's a million things out there, but we don't know how to work with it. There's a million things we put out there in mindset too. And once you understand the truth and know how to compile it to be like in alignment, it just shows up. So once we understand that if whatever I choose to put my focus on and attention on at night is what's soaking in my subconscious brain all night long, that literally means all night long there's 8 hours of like solutions being and like the law of attraction going to play for me, and I get to wake up and literally know exactly like it's worked on it all night long, and the people I'm going to attract and the opportunities I'm going to have and how my day's going to look and what I'm going to create. So there's concepts of the mirror exercise, talking to your root emotion and shifting that belief system. There's visualizing of what that's going to look like. You got to work with meditation and creating internal peace from within, like all these aspects come into play, and it's just like you're this divine, powerful creator. It's like, bring it on.
Nuts too, because I go back to thinking about the times where I was thinking about at night about finances or what's going to happen at work tomorrow or all this different kind of stuff, and not realizing that that's what my brain got to sit with for the next 8 hours. That's why it's interesting, because I remember one morning you and I were texting for whatever reason, and I thought I would impress you by saying, oh, sorry, got to cut it short. I have to go work out. And think, you all impress the coach, you know? It's like, I'm going to work out. I have to work out. And you're like, oh, you don't have to do anything. You get to work out. And I used that in a presentation. I took a piece of you and a piece of Brendan Burchard. Brendan says, apply hate to anything and it will never grow. If you hate nutrition, you'll always be unhealthy. If you hate vocal exercises, you'll always be a mediocre vocalist. If you hate social media, you'll always have a smaller fan base. So I started using that. I said, you guys cannot put hate on anything. I said, don't look at it that I have to go to my vocal lessons. You get to go to your vocal lessons. So I've always found myself combining these things. I was having during this journey, which this journey is now for me called life. So I'm not going to say this journey that I was on. No, this is my journey.
Right.
People are now like, dude, what are you reading? You know, what are you doing different? You know, you never take any of those little treats that the flight attendants offer you anymore because I already have my own stuff. You know, it's like I never used to travel with a shaker bottle inside of my backpack. In my backpack, if I go downstairs and grab it, you'll open up a zipper, and in this one particular pouch, it has my shaker bottle, which always has protein inside in a Ziploc baggie. I have my rubber band, one of my rubber bands. I have my bands here. I keep one of these with me. And then the other thing, you guys don't understand, this right here can kick your butt. I've watched
get out of your shoulders.
I watched Marcy fry, they're called Marcy mini fries and fried. So I keep this, my shaker bottle, and I have a speaker that now plugs into my phone so that I can do wherever I'm at. I never used to travel like that. You know, I never used to sit down and say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and make my crepes, and I'm going to call ahead and make sure that I have a refrigerator in my room. You know, I would always just take whatever was put, well, this is all I have. I'm on a plane. This is all they're offering, or the 100-calorie Oreo packs. It was so easy. And actually, it's fun because this was the first time that my family didn't have to be on pins and needles around me. It used to be, oh, how dare you ask me if I can eat that? You know I can't have that. You know, oh, this is what you made for dinner. You know I can't have that. That's not what this was about. This was about my journey. This was about me knowing and hearing you say there is not a single restaurant or a single store that I can't go in and find something that can hold me until I can get to where it is that I need to be. Because that's the one thing, especially with artists, you know, we're on tour buses and we roll into every truck stop and it's, you know, these weird hours and all this different kind of stuff. If you know what to look for, there is not a single store or restaurant. And I truly believe that and see that now. So one of the things that was happening with our group was there was someone in the group that had a lot of business things that were coming up, and they just didn't want to let their friends down by not drinking with them or having desserts with them or eating with them. And it was one of those things where I had also had that same thing where I was traveling a lot and doing everything. And that's when I realized once again that it's all you can do is provide the information. You know, there were two of us in the same situation doing things different. And that's the same thing I explained to my artists. You know, is people will come in and go, Rick, your program works so well because, you know, I'm having all this great success. And then I can name 5 people that didn't have great success because so I always go back and compliment and reward them saying, you know what, I provided the tools and you did the work. Watching you do that with us, but also watching you not freak out and chastise people when they came on the call, because the old Rick would want to go, what the, you know, I give you these tools and I know, you know, it was like, and I'm like, holy crap. So here's Marcy loving these people and then finding out what the root cause was that they chose to make those decisions, not beating their ass because they made those decisions. And that made me come back and go, wow, what kind of coach am I if I'm not saying, okay, let's think about that for a second. Okay, so you know the results you get when you did it. So what held you back this week? You know, maybe why weren't you able to do this? I started finding myself being more loving and nurturing instead of the dictator, which I was before. So I owed that and owe you that compliment because it was watching the way that you did it. I mean, I started an accountability group based upon our accountability group. I'm like, shit, we get together every week. It's like, what was your week like? What was your resistance? What can we as a group help you to get through it next week? And what are you going to have ready for us by the time this comes around? I'm like, holy shit, I can do that in the music business. And I have all these artists that just make excuses all the time. And I'm like, Marcy listens to our excuses for a second, and then she gets to the root cause of, okay, so why are we saying the same thing week in and week out? I'm like, man, I can do this. So that's why I'm having this conversation with you right now, is because I need people and I want to give them a resource. You know, Marcy's got a lot of great free resources, a lot of different things that you can find out about her and what it is that she does. But if nothing more than for them to get the mindset that they can do this. You know, it's like this music business is tough. This music business, there's no shortage of people that are out there with talent that can sing, but there is a shortage of people that are in the right frame of mind. And I'm like, okay, Marcy's journey that I'm on with her is more than just I lost 30-something pounds and 40-something inches. It was about the shift, you know, and that's where I think that people really need to see it. And you know what, anybody out there that might be struggling with the weight and want to understand more about it, she's got great coaching programs for that. She's kind of like me, guys. You know, I've got my entry-level programs that are rock solid, that are awesome, that can help put you in the right direction. I've got my $5,000 coaching groups. I've got my $15,000 coaching groups. I mean, heck, Marcy's got people, I don't want to become her tax person, but she's got people that pay her monthly to spend time with her more than a lot of people make in a year. So there are different programs for a lot of different things, but what she does and what I do is our free resources will change your life. And everybody asked me, they said, Rick, why do you give away so much free stuff? I said, because that's my gift, because ultimately when they want to go a step further, they know where to go. You know, when they're in a position to be able to take advantage of this. So I'll make sure that you guys have everything on Marcy and how to get a hold of her programs and the various opportunities that she has. Some of you parents out there that have complimented how great I look and how great I feel, and you've been struggling through some things of your own, call me personally and let's have a conversation. You know, I would love to turn you on to the program I did. The program I did was a 90-day challenge, and it came with a nutritionist, it came with coaching, it came with weekly group calls with Marcy, but they're small groups. You know, I'm talking like there were 8 of us. So depending on where you're at, if you're an artist and you just want to have some kick-ass workouts on your phone when you're on the road, there's a free app that Marcy has that's available for you. But I just love and adore not only you as a person, but what you've been able to do for me, because now it's able to help other people. You know, it's like, yeah, Rick got these great rewards, and, you know, my clothes fit better, and my daughter sent me a text when I sent her a picture and said I was a hottie, you know, and all that kind of stuff. But seeing the other lives that we're able to help is kind of what it's about for us in our journey. You know, we both talk about that a lot. You know, so I just honor you and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be the better me, because a better me helps a lot of people. I remember Robin Newton, who's Maddie Newton's mom, and a lot of people watching this will know her, is she came up to me one day and she says, you know what? She said, you're a very powerful speaker. She said, when you get your health right, she goes, watch out. She said, right now, you talk a lot and people kind of dig it. She said, but when you can get that body right and you get into that place, she said, watch out. You're going to be a force to be reckoned with. And when Marcy and I met, we were at this thing called Celebrity Launchpad, learning to get on television. And I didn't want a medium that put 10 extra pounds on the body. I was joking about that. Going, oh, I don't want anything that's going to put 10 extra pounds on this. but you found a picture from like the first time that we were together, and just
Oh my
in
God.
90 days, it was just like, ooh, wait a minute, you know. And I had an event where I was speaking on stage, where I was sitting down and my shirt was all pooched out. And then the event I saw you at in Utah, it's like, here's the next picture. I'm like, whoa, who is this guy? I mean, it just really, so that part is awesome, you know, but those I call the byproducts. They're the byproducts of just by doing what's right.
Well, and Rick, if I can add to that, what I really want people to hear, I mean, even you're talking about artists to whatever people their focus is, their passion, their purpose to get.
Yeah.
When you were doing it out of, when you talked about how, you know, I didn't get mad at people because they experienced sabotage or whatever. That's because whenever we're fighting the ego mind does not want to be forced. So whenever we have to do something and it's a force or a fight or a battle, we're going to sabotage. So if I'm obviously aligned to this truth and this knowing of the Creator, why would I ever force or fight? And just like I was like, dude, you don't have to work out. You're perfect, whole, and complete right now. What you get to realize is, if you get to choose it, if you want those results, if you want to live energized and in connection, but all that comes down to loving yourself.
Right.
By you going internal and breaking through all the bullshit that said, I'm not good enough, this is hard, or I don't deserve this, and why you did the body game over and over and over again was because you went inside and you shifted those things that said, I'm not worthy, I'm undeserving, I don't believe I can have it, it scares me, or whatever it is, I'm afraid of judgment, or, you know, there's a reason why your artist won't do something and move forward and create something, or self-sabotage, is because internally there's a disconnect from that. So and when you love yourself and you give it to yourself, you can never lose love by loving yourself. I love that phrase. Right. That it's like, by loving yourself, and that's through everything that you've talked about, that's what aligned you. And then the thing I want people to hear is, when you're aligned to the truth of who you are, it becomes easy. So you really want to make it as an artist or whatever it is, okay? There's a reason why, like, my life has flowed and I've gone to TV, you know, worldwide and nationally, and have everything all over, and in such a short amount of time, is because I'm connected and aligned to that. I believe I deserve it and I'm worthy of it, but then knowing how to use my mind to create that. So you kept saying there's a lot of people who know how to sing out there, but there's only so many that have the right mindset. When you can, if you really want to make it happen, it's about, how do I connect to it that I am exuding that energy? And this is the last thing I feel like really people, if they can latch onto and understand, is we're always creating. In every moment you are creating. We are effortlessly creators. The world is consistently in creation mode. Think about it. Sun shows up every day. Sun goes down. You saw, like, we had my little sunset going behind the palm trees, right? Like, sun shows up and goes down every single day effortlessly. The grass grows effortlessly. You know, the birds fly effortlessly. We don't struggle to breathe. We are effortlessly in creation all the time. What the difference is, whatever energy we are exuding, whatever we are feeling, whatever thought processes we're putting out, how we're choosing to respond to situations, our perceptions, our beliefs, everything that we're exuding from us is being created. That's why it came down to the power of, what do I choose to put my focus on every single night? And what am I choosing in this moment to go, oh, I get to look at what's really happening. What feeling am I wanting, and how do I move forward? And I create it. So whatever you're doing, you are creating right now. Are you creating shit? Are you creating awesomeness? But when you're aligned to that, and so I don't even know if I've told you this, where now I'm shifting to putting my at-home program into corporations, so all their employees are on the program, and it's like shifting healthcare. And
oh, wow, yeah, that's awesome.
And just by me deciding, the other day, I set out this intention, all of a sudden in my head I had this thought of, like, I'm like, okay, so how would I get to do this? And like, this thought came up of a lady who went through my program a couple years ago. Her and her husband do stuff worldwide and are you know, really successful, but don't do anything in the health industry. So I was like, I don't know why I'm supposed to connect with this person, but that came up for me, and I just trust now because I'm aligned. I don't question, I just trust. And so I reach out to her, and she's like, I can't believe you got in touch with me. And I told her that I was you know, planning on going into corporations. She said she's now shifted to doing health programs in corporations worldwide, and already has it set up. Like, there's $1 million deal right there that boom, was that easy, because I'm aligned and I believe it, and so hence it becomes effortless. And this is the difference I think that it can make for an artist or whatever, whatever your passion and purpose is. When you're aligned to the truth and you feel good and you're connected to that, those things just show up effortlessly, instead of, okay, I have to do this. See, I have to go to voice lessons, and I have to go to another audition. I have to do this. I have to do this. You're literally already a feeling and an energy of fight, force, battle. I don't believe I can have it, and that's why we end up creating exactly what we're committed to. You're committed to sacrifice versus committed to it being easy and awesome and being aligned to your truth.
Well, and I think that a lot of people are going to be able to take from this is the fact that they, as their body is their fat burning machine, they have the ability to be whatever they want to be. You know, they have the ability to do whatever it is that they want to do. And if you don't have the right skill set, you can get that by having the right frame of mind to put yourself in a position to learn. You know, there's a lot of people that make a lot of excuses, and I sit back and I go, wow. You know, it's like someone said to me that there's no way that I could have what you have, Rick. I said, wait, you're talking to a recovering addict who was homeless, living in the ghetto, who grew up poor and on food stamps, who helped launch one of the biggest stars in the world. So don't tell me that because you didn't get some fancy education or because you didn't grow up with money that you can't do this. You know, and my thing was finally finding someone who could coach me, because my whole job is always being the guy that everyone goes to, and I hadn't quite found that person that could coach me, that I would let into my world. And had you told me that she was going to come in the form of a she, first off, I probably wouldn't have believed it. If you would have told me that she would have showed up in workout clothes with an 8-pack and the gun show, I probably wouldn't have believed it. But that's why it was interesting, and we'll end on this, is you wrote me, I can't remember if it was an email or a text, but you said, thanks for calling me into your world, or it was something like that, you know, and it was like, you are such a believer that I was called into your space and you were called into my space. And today I was reading some of the posts. I have a program that's launching right now, and this lady's like, she goes, just this week, she said, I was like, if God could just send me somebody who could help me understand this music business. And I sent her a text back. I said, thanks for calling me into your space. And that I owe to you. You know, a lot of people getting the softer, gentler, more loving Rick have you to thank for that. So there's been people that have been with me for a while.
Usually I'm known for just calling out the bullshit. So people more see me as like the hard ass on the outside, but you know, coaches me, it's all love, and it just comes from love. I know it's true.
It is. It's like Marcy got fined so much because she would always drop the S-bomb or the F-bomb or something, and we're practicing, and it's just that's just who she is as a person. She's just so passionate. She like, you know, it's hysterical, and sometimes I'll find myself the same way. So I will make links available for all of your stuff. I want people to come into your world. I want them to experience the same changes that I've experienced, come to just become a better them. And like I said, she's got free stuff, she's got paid stuff, she's got one-on-one, she's got groups. There's something for everyone, and that's kind of how we pattern our lives. We pattern ourselves to serve, and we want to make sure that wherever you're at, that you've got something that you can utilize. And I know that there's going to be a lot of folks reaching out. You'll get a whole bunch of new Twitter followers. I can guarantee you that right now. A lot of people are going to be following you on Twitter.
Space I don't use. That's awesome. But the best even way is just even marcylock.com/application at least applies to that we can. Our team is always connected to be like, where would people fit and how do we serve the most? But it's inch by inch moving forward instead of stopping yourself from doing so. So
that's the key. I want them to get in and listen to your story that first day. When they get in and they sign up to get your email list and they get that first video. That first video is so important. I want everybody listening to start there. Go grab that. That's available to you right now. And then like Marcy said, they do have an application process for some of our other programs. And what's interesting about your team is that they're going to find the one that's going to give the most success. You know, there are some people that she's like, you know what, this more expensive program isn't really right for you right now. You know, you probably should really start over here because your mind's not quite there yet to not get in your head going, oh my gosh, I just spent all this money on this and I'm not. And they'll be like, "Don't. Then we don't want your money. You need to go over here to." I always tell people, not all money is good money. I've had people that I'm like, oh my gosh, I pay them twice as much they paid me to leave. So that's why Marcy's team does an application process. It's not to sit there and say, all right, this person makes this much money, we should put them in this program. That's not what her application process is at all. Her application process is saying, where are you at mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, spiritually, to be able to utilize what it is. Because Marcy and I think we have the same belief. I always tell people, successful people in our program will make us more money than us ever just going out trying to find money. Money seems to find us when we do the right things because we know how to create it into our space.
Yeah, and money is just a reflection of the amount of value that you're creating in the world. So, I mean, for me to have the intention to where I created moving into a 6-figure-a-month income, going from that $2 an hour waitress, my journey and story, is just because it was literally the belief inside that I'm worthy of it, and knowing that that is just a reflection of how much value I create. So even now, my next new intention is to take things even to a bigger game, is just so that I can create more value. So that's a whole.
It allows you to reach more people. I mean, the more that's the thing that I thought was interesting when we first started working together. You're like, this comes in, it allows me to do this. That's the way I've looked at it now. I haven't looked at it. I've said, hey, if I can generate this allows me to open this door for people, this door for people, this door for people, and it's a win-win for all of us involved.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, my darling. Well, I love you. I appreciate you. And we will see you sooner rather than later. I don't know when people are going to be watching this, but I'll be in San Diego in March.
Yay, well, I love you. I love you. I can't believe how your face is still just shrinking down, and you're amazing. And I'm honored to have gotten to watch you through this journey, and I'm so blessed to have you in my life, and I'm so honored to see what you do for other people. So love you, brother. Honor you.
Rock on.
Lock it down.
That's right.